Welcome to Season 7 of Paper Talk,
where we share stories about growing and thriving in your creative business.
I'm Quinn Wynn of Pinkham Hosey.
I'm Jessie Chu of Crafted to Bloom.
And I'm Sarah Kim of Handmade by Sarah Kim.
In this season, we want to explore the evolution of an artist's journey and the growth and struggle of having a business.
Plus, we'll chat with other entrepreneurs and artists to uncover their keys to success.
So get ready to unlock the potential in your creative journey with us.
Hello. Welcome back to Paper Talk. I cannot believe we are here at Season 7. Jessie and I have been doing this for over 5 years now. Can you believe that, Jessie?
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy fast.
And now we have the lovely Sara here with us. This is our second season with us, and we are still going strong. Who knew when we started doing this particular podcast that we would meet so many amazing people, be able to talk to so many people around the world. Jessie, we need to pat ourselves on the shoulder because we have kept it strong. We are over 150 episodes now. Who knew that both of us would have a book out by now? And Sarah, we're just waiting for your book to come out. So if anyone's looking for someone to write another book, Sarah is the person. She's amazing. The accomplishment that all three of us have done over the years that we've been doing business, with all three of us, I bet it's over 30 years of experience that you guys can pick, ask us questions. We've shared so many amazing stories, and we can't wait to continue to share our stories and other artists and creative stories in this particular season. And in this particular season, we do want to talk about success. We do want to talk about failures, and we want to share some of the mistakes that we've done in the past, how we overcame it and how we turned it around and just made it more powerful to say, we're not going to make that mistake again. We learned from it. We're moving on. I'm so excited to share the list of guests that we have lined up for this particular season. Before we start doing that, we always do a recap. Jessie, what have you been doing this entire summer?
I've been trying to take vacation. Yeah, I know. It's so important, guys. It's so important to just stop what you're doing, whether it's at your full-time job or you're making flowers or you're painting or whatever it is. Just stop and get out. It could be a staycation, but just get out of your house. I think there's so much outside our little homes that can really inspire us and wonderful memories. I think what I've been trying to do is trying to bring more wonderful things in my life, recreate a sense of awe that we used to feel as children, where I do this through a lot of my kids' eyes and what they see as cool and what they see as new. And it really brings a new perspective to my art, to my life. And so traveling helps. And it doesn't have to be anywhere far. It doesn't have to be exotic either. We just go camping every year. And just being among nature, I think really refreshes your mind and your body and soul. And also we did a road trip. We did a road trip down to Cape Cod and Boston to visit friends and just reconnecting with people who we haven't seen in a long time. My friend who lives in Cape Cod, her husband grew up there and I'd never been. And that's their summer home. And during the year, they live in New Jersey. The kids go to school in New Jersey. And then in the summer, they head to Cape Cod. But I've known her since grade 3. So I've known her since I was 8 years old. And she somehow managed to stay in touch with us. And at this age, I cherish those friendships so much because you just think about how easy it is to lose touch with people in your lives and how a lot of people in your life you just pass through, right? There's only a limited number of those connections that you actually make that you keep that are lifelong. Like those are actually really rare. And the older I get, the more I realize how rare those connections are and how many friends I've quote unquote lost in a way, lost touch, or the relationships aren't meaningful anymore. So reconnecting with people who truly are meaningful in my life has been one of my goals. So anyways, we went to Cape Cod and then we also drove down to Boston. So it's about 9 hours from Toronto, which is completely doable. Our first road trip with our kids. And I have to say, like being stuck in a car with them, they were wonderful. They were great. And it was actually really nice. It was really nice to be like in the same location as my husband and my kids. It's rare, right? Everyone's like usually off doing their own thing, school, work, whatever it is. So being able to be in the car, actually talk with each other, see new things with each other. And like I said, seeing like new places and hearing the questions that come out of my kids' mouths. It's really enlightening. It's really a really great way, I think, of re-examining my preconceived notions, my assumptions, and help me recharge my creative soul and ideas. And it helps when I come back that I'm refreshed and excited to get back to work. But yeah, so I've been traveling. Yeah, that's pretty much what I did in July. And then I've just been working on moth.
Love your moth.
Summer.
I've been seeing it, on Instagram.
Oh, thank
So
you.
good.
Thank you. The funny thing is I don't eat insects, like real ones.
I feel the same way. Yeah.
But that's the thing, like growing up in a really sterile household. And also like my parents, like I was born in Hong Kong, but my parents grew up in Hong Kong and it's like concrete city, right? There's no really real true interaction with insects and birds. Rarely, really. They're considered pests, right? And in this time of my life, having my kids like look at potato bugs and ladybugs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I did as a child. You let them crawl all over you. And then when you get older, you're like, ew, that's gross. So going back to butterflies, which I made last year, this year I'm on moths. It's me really re-examining my relationship with the natural world and the idea of bringing them inside my home, something that I wasn't allowed to do as a child, something that we're socialized not to do. I think it brings us closer to nature and to our understanding of how we're all intertwined, right? It's an ecosystem that we really should cherish and nourish and respect. Creating these moths actually pushed me to overcome the fear of critters, things with legs. I think it's the hairy legs that really get to me. That just imagining them, like that feeling. But it
Like
forced me to,
spiders.
yeah. Oh gosh, I'm not there yet. But it really forces you to, because obviously, as you guys know, we do a lot of research before we even start making anything. And doing the research, reading about them, looking at images, going out and seeing moths out when we were camping, it was a really good way for me to educate myself and learn to appreciate them in ways that we were not taught to appreciate 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Having done that, I'm hoping I can pass on that kind of wonderment and that kind of appreciation to my kids. Because the other day, my son was like, oh, you should put a moth right here, right by the entrance so everyone can see. And I was like, oh,
I love that.
I was like, oh, because I've been hanging them on my walls and just in one section so I could see all of them. But he was like, no, I want to see it. And I was like, oh, wow, like you're going to grow up a little bit different from me. Where we weren't supposed to see those things like go out the door or get smushed. Yeah, I've really enjoyed growing as an artist where I feel not that I'm sick of flowers. No, there's no way. But I've grown to the point where I'm looking for other ways to interact with my love for flowers. I think that kind of growth has been really exciting for myself. And if you look at other artists, many artists don't just focus on one type of either medium or one type of genre. Often they reach out to different types, especially sculpture artists tend to do that a lot. Because sculpture, it's the skills you gain from one type of sculpture is so translatable to other types. It really is just problem solving in a different way, using different mediums and in different forms. So I would argue that it's different from painting or drawing, right? But having that kind of transition, I think, helps me grow as an artist so that I can, when I look back or return back to, let's say, flowers, I have a different appreciation for them. I have a different set of eyes. Since we're talking about growth for this season, that I feel has been my growing point where, yes, you might have started following me because I made flowers, but I don't think that's very different from moths or birds or butterflies, especially since there's overlaps in the mediums I use, in the way I use them, and just the fact that they're all like related. They're all related. I don't think we can live with flowers and not have insects.
Yes.
Exactly. And vice versa. Yeah. We're all related. So yeah, but that's what I've been doing this summer and still working on it and excited to go back to flowers. But for the time being, I think I'm going to return to birds first and let's see where it goes.
I love it.
But,
I'll be the first person to sign up for your insects and bird course because they look so amazing.
Oh, thank you.
So amazing.
Thank you.
Sarah, how was your summer?
I guess the same as Jessie. I've been traveling. I had a lot of fun during the summertime. And I think I'm with Jessie on the idea of going through different things. I guess not necessarily butterflies or moths, but I guess I wanted to go back to figuring out how to craft as a hobby, where I found love in making stuff. And it feels like so much of business, like when I'm making things, I feel like I'm constantly thinking about how I'm going to make money doing this, or how I'm like, what my next project that has to do with my business. So I needed to take a step back. And during the summer, I was able to make things for myself for fun, like finding joy again. I don't know. It was like this weird reset as an artist, recharge. And like with traveling and then coming back and not having that time to go back to work, I was able to take that time and make something for fun. And I think that was, yeah. And they weren't like butterflies or moths or anything that was related to paper flowers. I think I was more intentional about figuring out what I could make for fun and recharge as an artist. So that's what I've been up to. And I am back to work. And then it looks a little different now, I think, like Jessie too. Like we've been doing this for so long. So I feel like we are evolving as an artist. So even my business, it's evolving. So it doesn't really look the same when I say I'm going back to work. It's not, I used to do a lot of like mass producing, but I feel like that sounds, oh, I'm going back to work. But then I guess going back to work for me now looks more like researching or planning or coming up with a better idea or coming up with an idea at all. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm really excited for this new season, talking about all the failures and all the successes. Like I've been in business now. I'm about to hit 13 years. I think that's where I feel like I'm definitely not a business person. So I have a lot to learn, and I learned so much just from Paper Talk while I'm on here and in the past. So I'm excited to continue to learn. I feel like this is like a free way to learn more about business. I know how to do the art part. Yeah, I need to figure out how to do the business part. Yeah. So I'm excited for this season.
Yes, so exciting. Before I forget, you guys, if you are a business owner in the United States, look up BOI. This is a new federal thing. I've started sharing it with my close friends, but you just need to fill out this form and make sure it's coming from a federal government website. Fill it out, because if you don't, you will get fined. Look it up, BOI. I forget what it's called, but I will put it in my show notes for you and the link for it. So go to our website, papertalkpodcast.com. But it's a new thing they're rolling out this year. You have until January 1, 2025 to fill it out. But if you don't, you will get fined. It's just saying and putting it out there for you guys as part of the business things that we all go through. But this year has been super amazing for me. I turned 50 this year, which was super crazy. And Sarah, one of our travel trip was to come up and celebrate my birthday. Thank you so much,
fun.
Sarah. It was so much fun. I had such a great time. I have to tell you, so we only had like maybe an hour and a half to set up all the flowers. And luckily we had a lot of hands talking about having meaningful relationship. The people that showed up, I probably known them for around 20 years, a majority of them. And then there were some new ones that came in my life the last few years that made such a huge impact in my life. Sarah as being one of them. Wow. Jessie, I wish you could have been there, but you were my thoughts that day. I was like, gosh, I wish Jessie was here. Just to be surrounded by females. And I think as we get older, I would appreciate my female friends so much more because they're a lot more relatable. Sometimes our husbands I just want to knock them over the head sometimes. I'm like, really? And so having our female friends that we can talk to, we're going through menopause. Some of them around the corner. It's something that's real. It's happening. And I don't think we talk about it enough. I'm in a Facebook chat group now that we talk about menopause that our mother never really shared with us. So it's so great to know that these hot flashes, these brain defunk that happens, it's all real, you guys, and we're all going through. And one thing that has the biggest thing on my plate is the book. I can't believe from last year, the publisher reached out to me I believe it was in August. We signed the contract September. I'm having a book come out. The release date's November 12th, which is so crazy to me. And this entire summer was spent editing the book. And I think writing the book, taking the pictures was really easy because I felt like I've teach and it's all in my head. But then as I sat and talked to my editor, they're like, we don't understand what you're saying. It's like, oh. And I feel like it is all about when you write something, you're talking to yourself, you're going through the process, you think everything makes sense. But then when you share it with other people that have never done this before, you're like, oh, they don't know what grains are. They don't know which way to stretch out your crepe to get the best effect. So that was a great learning curve for me and really pushed my teaching. And so right now I'm planning my book tour / workshop. And I'm so excited. I'm doing a whole slew of them in Seattle, of course. But then I'm heading to Japan. My Japan people, I'm going to be doing a book signing in Tokyo. I think the date that we've already connected is December 6th. So reach out to me. Let me know if you're interested getting a signed copy. I will have some really fun gifts if you see me in person. So reach out to me. I'm going to be touring Japan. So I'll be in a lot of different areas. So reach out if you are there and want to meet up because I would love to meet and see everybody. I'm heading to New York. I'm heading to Philadelphia. I'm heading to Austin, Texas. I'm hopefully heading to some other cities in Texas too, but that's kind of in the work. My time is limited, but hopefully we'll make that happen. LA, of course, Northern California, Southern California. I'm going to be there. And then if you're interested, there's also, I believe, oh, this is so cool. I have to share this because this is so amazing. I had a teacher, I believe, in Arizona reach out to me, and it's a private school. They're going to be spending a whole week doing paper flowers with all the different grade levels. They want to do this huge installation that they want to share how to make paper flowers. And they're buying a copy of the book for all the students and all the teachers.
Wow.
I'm like, what? This is amazing. So they're inviting me to come down and to see if I can come in, show them how to make it, or even if I can just see the final result. I'm just already blown out of the water by this opportunity. And I'm just amazed that paper flowers, when we did it, 9 years ago, it was not like this. Okay. And to see this industry grow and expand, and so many people have found our joy of making paper flowers. It's astounding to me. I knew this was a thing, but I didn't know how big and what a people connector it is. Thinking back to our Greenwood Rising project, where we had Steven and all these other people show up and volunteer their time and to show up and do and make. We had hundreds of people send thousands of these lilies into Tulsa, Oklahoma, just to talk about this history moment that was never spoken about. That blows my mind. And to be able to be reaching out to all these people around the world and to know these people has really made a huge impact in my life. And I'm so glad we have this platform, this podcast, to share people's story. And that's one big thing that I want to do this year is talk to people. How can we help you? DM us, message us, tell us on the podcast. We're always constantly checking all the different platforms, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, to see if anyone dropped any comment. And Paper Talk really hit some big moments last year in season 6, where we were in the top 50 podcasts, not only in the United States, in the UK, in Asia, in Latin America. Thank you so much to each of you that have listened to our podcast. That has really lit so many fires and so many people. And I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. It's been really incredible and amazing. I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Our community has grown so much.
Yes.
As well.
So much.
And it's amazing to me to see people reach out really to each other and support each other in so many ways, not just on technique. I see a lot of that sharing as well, but also celebrating the wins, celebrating your book being published, celebrating a course being launched, celebrating somebody's art being exhibited or the first time at a craft fair. I think that type of lifting each other up, I think it's so unique in a way,
Yeah.
community. And I'm really proud of people for doing that because all of us have something to give. All of us have something to learn from each other as well. And to be honest, in 2019, I wasn't sure what to expect from our podcast. We literally just put it out there.
Yes.
But to know that people actually listen to it and people care, that just says, that says a lot about how wonderful and close-knit and supportive our community is. Yeah, so I'm very grateful for people listening to us on a weekly basis. That's knowing our voices are important is, I think, really important as well.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
I just went to my Silhouette Summit in Hawaii just this past week. And I think it was like the first person I met. And she was like, "Oh, Sarah, I listened to your Paper Talk podcast." And I was like, yeah. For that to be like the first comment and it was a stranger. And I was like, oh, I feel so flattered. And and she's not from California. She makes all sorts of different mediums and stuff, but not specific to paper flowers. But she was like, I listen to it weekly. And I was like, wow, I felt so happy and like excited. And I feel like I am more of like a timid person and I am definitely introverted. So I don't really feel like I prioritize networking as a thing in my business, although I know that it's important. And I obviously went out of the way to meet with Quinn in person and stuff like that, which I usually don't do. That's not in my personality.
I'm so glad you did.
Yeah, I know. And who would have thought I'd be at your birthday party like a year later? But yeah, I think it's definitely important because sometimes it can be lonely doing, art just by yourself in your own little world. And then you see all these amazing artists that are around the world. Like we have listeners that are coming from all over the world, and to be like having our art be connected to each other. It's like such I don't know, it gives me the feels. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we do the same thing and we love and share our passion. And there was a time where I was probably a little bit immature where I felt like, oh, but we're competitors. So I felt like there was a conflict of interest. But the older I get, I realize it's not that it's a conflict. It really is where it's a platform where we can support each other, encourage each other, and get validation too, because that was another thing. I in my head, I'm like, oh, I don't know who's listening to it, but it's just me and Quinn having fun. But to go to a trip and someone come up to me saying that, I was like, wow, it's so validating. I was like, well, I'm part of something that like people are listening to and, have similar interests and things like that. I realize it's not a conflict of interest. It's actually like we're interested in it together. So yeah, all the feels.
I think you're really right. Speaking from my personal experience of last year, not being really that involved in the podcast, I needed the time. I really did need the time off, but it's so easy to fall back into your little bubble. It's so easy. It's so easy to fall back in your little bubble and shut out the world and shut out those interactions, especially when you're working at home. And really, my everyday life is just my kids, my husband, my parents, my close friends. That's it. But it's so easy. And then when you open up yourself to more interactions, whether it's on our podcast, whether it's on your own podcast or small groups that you have like-minded creatives, it's so much more motivating. I find that after these meetings, and if you go into these meetings or these interactions and you don't feel motivated, then maybe you look elsewhere. But the point is to be motivated. The point is accountability. And like you said, Sarah, validation. And I remember, I think last year we had a friend who wanted friends to keep them accountable. And I keep on going back to that. And I'm thinking, it's just being on the journey together. Right? We could have nothing in common except for our goal to be creating what we want to create or towards some sort of dream that might not be the same, but we just have that kind of parallel belief that we can work together, we can be together and motivate each other. And I think that pushes us to do more. It's so easy to procrastinate and so easy to say, you know what, I can do this, but I don't know if I can do that and just hold back. But when you have people asking about it week after week, or sharing ideas with you, I think it pushes you to do more. So I think that's what I missed last year. I felt, I do love my comfort zone. I am very introverted as well. I'm very comfortable there. But I think what I felt was missing was that kind of relationship and interaction with people who believed in me and who were excited about what I was doing, which in turn gave me permission and confidence to go ahead with it and push myself to do more. I personally, because we've been doing this podcast for so long, this is my outlet, but I encourage everyone to find their own group, their own tribe, their people who stay in touch. It doesn't have to be frequent. It could be once a month. It could be spontaneous, but something where you feel like, okay, I'm accountable to someone and you get excited updating them. I think that's a good thing when you do. That means you like what you're doing. It means it's motivating, but I think it pushes you to another level that you sometimes just can't by yourself.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I mean, having these pockets of friends that have, because everyone has multiple interests. Not only do you love paper flowers, but maybe you love cooking. Maybe you love bread making. Maybe you love shopping. Maybe you love just walking and hiking in nature. Having these pockets of friends that pulls at all your different interests and make you happy. That's one thing I'm striving for, is what makes me more happy? Who do I hang out that I walk away excited and just a big smile on my face? I have to say there's a group of people that I've really fell in love with this year was the flower farmers. Meeting with these people that dig in the dirt, grow these beautiful flowers is just astounding to me because these people have like thousands of plants that they have to care and take care of and grow these specimens that we sometimes, I feel like when you go to the grocery store and you see these flowers in these little wrap packages, you're like, oh, they're so pretty. I'll take them home. I'll create with them. And sometimes we forget the people behind that. And I was so fortunate to be able to go to Colombia to visit Alexandra Farms a few years ago and to meet hundreds and hundreds of people growing these garden roses that is shipped worldwide. And to be able to meet them and see their smile and talk about why do they come to work every single day? You see it because it's beautiful. Garden roses are beyond amazing. There's not a single person that I know that doesn't love garden roses. They might not like the hybrid tea rose or the regular grocery store because they don't open up. The garden roses, why I love it is every day it blooms differently. And the fragrance, every garden rose have their own specific fragrance. It's really amazing to me to smell from like the Leonora or the Miyabi. Each of them have a specific scent that if you close your eyes, you're like, it's a Leonora because it's like a little bit lemony, a little bit cucumber. There's a distinctive rose floral note to it. But when you close your eyes and you smell it, you're like, oh, why is there a citrus note? Why is there a vegetation note to it? It's just really amazing. It's why I think the perfume world is so big. I love perfume and I'm trying to find that one scent that I can, this is me. But I feel every season, I'm like, oh, I need to pick up a different one, a lighter one for the summer, a heavier one for the winter. And so I've been exploring that a little bit. And I fell into the TikTok perfume world where they talk about all these different notes. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so fascinating.
Wow.
Look it up. It's really amazing. And I feel like the people that do these perfume TikTok, they could do ASMR because their voice is like melodic and just really soothing. And when they talk about, it just opens another sense of world for me because I'm such a visual person. To be able to open that up for different notes and smelling notes is completely just eye-opening for me. Because my other passion is cooking because you see and you smell and you hear, because if you can smell, it's burning. You can hear it sizzling as it's cooking. So those are the things that when I look at paper flowers, I hear the cutting of the scissors, the scraping of the crepe paper, the glue that comes out and you hear it squash as you press that petal into the center. That creates that moment, those memories when I pick up a pair of scissors or glue or paper. That makes me so happy. And when I talk to these various people and they are so passionate about the dirt, the bugs, the diseases, it's just really another way to connect. And that really has floated my boat this entire summer.
Because of you, I signed up for a workshop where it is a flower arranging workshop, but it's also included with the flower farm tour.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, and it reminded me of you. I was like, oh, and it's going to be in San Diego if you want to come. It'll be in October, I think. Yeah. But I was like, oh, that sounds so much fun. I think like you were mentioning, we make the flowers. And usually if I do any type of research, I'm just looking it up on Google or I'm buying it at Trader Joe's or something, but like to go there and feel that flower energy, like it is, yeah, I'm excited for it. And we've had the Dahlia lady, I forgot her name, but the Dahlia lady, the energy that she brings with her passion for flowers, it's like a whole nother, I thought I was passionate about paper flowers, but sometimes I'm like over it, but that's her whole life. And I love that.
It is her whole life. Yes. So you're talking about Anne Long of the Dahlia House. I recently met up with her a couple weeks ago and she was telling me a story. I have to share it because every time I think of it and I have this vision. So let me share this story with you. Dahlias in the fields, you have to dig up all the tubers. Otherwise, the ground's too wet. It will rot away. And she would dig it out and then she would lay this giant long tarp. And she said she and her other friend was laying down the tarp and her husband was out there helping them. And the wind was so strong, the wind pushed her up in the air as she's holding the tarp 8 to 9 feet up in the air. So I have this vision of her flying in the air like a flying cape as she's floating in the air. She did land safely, but I was just like, oh my gosh, the things that you never have to encounter as a human being that just works in a garden. Yeah. And her husband's like, let go. It's like, I can't.
She was parachuting with her tarp.
Right? Yes. Every time I think of Anne, that's my vision before I talk to her. It's like I see her fly.
Aw.
It's so funny.
I give them props, man. It's not easy.
Yes. It is not easy.
It is not easy. Hands in your hands and knees, and it's cold and wet, and you got to go out there no matter what the weather is like.
And your failures for farming is like the saddest thing. I feel like you can't fix that.
You can't, and not control a lot of it.
Yeah.
No, it's never done. They were talking about what they do in the winter times. Yes, it's their downtime, but they're taking out the seeds, they're prepping it, they're germinating it, they're babying it. So that way they have little seedlings ready for spring so they can plant it. It's a constant battle.
Nonstop.
It's amazing.
I mean, you can't even take vacations.
Not really. It's hard.
Right? It's just yourself. Yeah, it is your baby. Yeah, you can't take it with you.
So in this particular, for season 7, we always end our podcast with a question. And so we want to change it up again this season to this one. So we're going to ask each of our guests, and I'm going to ask Jessie and Sara, what is your life hack right now that you are using and that you could share with our audience? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. My easy life hack that I usually tell everybody, it's when I cook, I get green onion in a bundle, especially at American grocery stores, because I don't have any Asian ones nearby. You have to buy a huge bundle. I chop them up and I do put them in the freezer so that I can just throw it in some soup in the future or in fried rice or whatever. That's my life hack. I know it's super random and it's not flour related, but yeah, my life hack is to cut up your vegetables and just put them in a freezer. I do that with cilantro as well.
That's a great hack. How about you, Jessie?
No. That's what I'm thinking about. How about you go next?
Okay, I'll go next. My favorite thing to make right now, and it's super easy. It will take you only 10 to 15 minutes. It's an Italian technique called agro dolce, which means sour and sweet. And what I do is I chop up a red onion. You can use any type of vinegar, any type of sweetener, agave, honey, just sugar. And you throw it all into a pot, a little bit of salt and pepper, and then you cook it down for only 10 to 15 minutes because you want the onions still to be crunchy and the sugar to caramelize a little bit. It is so good. I've topped it with everything from vegetables, meatballs, chicken, cheese. It's so good. It just adds that sweet, sour note to all my dishes. It's been great in ramen too. It's been delicious. I just add it on everything and I just cook it. I put it in a jar and I just keep it in the fridge and I just top it with everything. Haven't done it with ice cream, but I think it would be good too, to be honest.
I feel like we're doing our favorite snacks again instead. No, this is a life hack, guys. This is a life hack.
Okay, so mine is not food related, but I would say year or two, I've been using my notes app a lot for my tutorials. So in the past, I would write everything in this little booklet and maybe draw a bit or something. But now what I do is I use notes. I just literally open it up, name it. For example, Luna Moss online course. And then as I'm making the flower or the insect or whatever it is, I'll take photos and I'll put whatever paper it is beside what I'm doing so I can prime myself. But then I'll put a little note underneath to say what I was using and the steps. But I find that keeps me on track and it allows me to work almost uninterrupted because all I need to do is take a photo on that app and then it goes directly on it. So when they say,
and this is only for iPhone users, by the way.
For iPhone users, it's notes.
Yeah. Apple.
If you have Android, I guess you probably have a similar app where you can use it. It's essentially just an accumulation of, it's like a Word document essentially, but in an app form. And you can take photos in it. You can write down notes. You can draw on it and stuff. But the whole concept of keeping track of what you're doing, like photos, what's the phrase? An image tells 1,000 words, or what is it? Says 1,000 words, whatever. So essentially that's what it is. Like instead of writing down, which this is what I used to do, is I literally just wrote down what did I do, my measurements and etc. Now I just have a ruler beside my paper showing what the measurement is without me actually having to type anything down. And so it reduces those interruptions while keeping track of what I'm doing. And just for my own reference, but also when I'm writing up my workshop tutorials or online courses, I just find that a lot easier to record keep. Anyways, life hack if you want to keep track of anything, really, is to do that.
I didn't know you could put photos on there.
Yeah.
I learned something.
So like sometimes I just take a whole bunch of photos and then I just select them from the photo app and then just have them uploaded to notes and then they just come all bang and they're all in order in terms of what process I used. And so I don't have to think so hard. I just look at the picture and it's, that's what I did. Those are the measurements. That's the shape. And life hack. Pretty good.
Yes.
This one good for me.
Can I add something on top of that? If you do have an iPhone and share albums on your phone, you can add your images to these albums that you can share to other people. And you can easily sync it up to because I have an iMac now, an iPad. So it all syncs all up together. So I don't have to airdrop it to myself. It just automatically uploads to iCloud and I get it on my iMac. I get it on my iPad. So when I'm doing templates, if I'm taking pictures of those particular flower petals, I can quickly grab it, outline it, move on. I think that's why creatives love using Apple products because they synchronize so well. And then when you go to Android, but now that my husband has one, so I'm not saying that we're not other users on here and he's a huge PC person, but I've done it and I found that Apple is so much easier for creatives, especially if you're creating courses, if you're doing these type of things, it just makes your life so much easier and versus having you like email it to yourself, put it in Dropbox, download it. It's so much upload and download and it just takes up so much memory and things are just so expensive these days. It just blows my mind how you can go grocery shopping. I'm totally going tangent right now, but I have to say, grocery shopping is so much more expensive right now. I don't understand.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, we are going to be laughing. We hopefully won't be crying, but we're going to be talking a lot about our growth, our failures. And I hope you will join us for season 7. We're so grateful you're here. Join us in our next episode. Bye, guys.